Are we at the point in our political life as a country where we can begin to say, politicians, governors, before you open your mouth to speak, please get like 7 PROs to cross check what you want to say before you say that? Beyond politics being played in Imo State right now, as a governor, part of your job, your responsibility is to ensure that there is proper employment, create jobs, opportunities, and diversify the economy and do what you need to do to ensure that people. You're telling us that 4,000 youths that are left in your care to govern, that you're going to send them out to Europe by December, um, so that they can start working. So those they say, nah, that's is a deceitful gimmick. I'd like to bring you in here.
I say, Vivien, we really do not need to have um, those aids, whatever number is suggested, to make someone who is presenting himself to be a leader to be able to make some common, almost basic kinds of considerations in terms of thinking and utterances. Because before you profess to be competent to want to provide leadership, you have to have a reasonable level of competence indeed and knowledge. Now, yes, because you can't be all round, you can't cover the field, then you get aids that to support. Not that you would be empty or near empty, hoping that you will not have people to fill the empty can, or your can should be near full, then you've just got people to help fill it. When I heard this, I also just asked myself, well, did he, perhaps his media aides aren't going to come again to say it was taken out of context. Because that's usually what the media aides most times will come say, especially when they that very seriously and manifestly make utterances that are damaging. Then they would come to want to seek to repair to say so. But for this much that we haven't heard that, it does appear that it was actually intended and is a commitment to the president. I do not understand what kind of economic policy that would be, unfortunately for Imolites. I do not understand what kind of development that will bring to Imo State. I do not understand how that will even get the Imolites to want to vote for him. Or perhaps he understands his people better. Maybe that is a state where the people have a primary intention to leave Nigeria and go elsewhere. You will never know. So if that is actually the driving force and the motive of the electorate in Imo State, that is that they are looking for somebody who will aid them go abroad for whatever purpose, he may get those numbers of the votes of those people who think that this is the governor that will enable us to go. But otherwise, it is most unfortunate at the time that we're talking about looking inwards and developing the African countries. Look at what we just talked about, Professor Patrick Lumumba saying. And then we get to the next point and look at what the governor who is campaigning to his people, meaning that he's not talking about development in Imo State. He's not talking about putting up employment. He's not talking about creating jobs. He's not talking about addressing the challenges of unemployment in Imo State. He's rather telling the people that he will create jobs in Europe, because sending labor to the industries in Europe, you are creating economy for them. And again, as these Imolites go to the various countries in Europe to supposedly get the job, I do not think that that's going to in any way bring development to Imo State, because you are manufacturing in those countries. Our leaders don't seem to understand what the economic challenges even really are. Like I was saying also, when the president made his speech, it's just full of promises again, perhaps the things that he's still campaigning. We can excuse Hope Uzordinma because he's campaigning, but of course a wrong one anyway, not justifying what he has said. But the same way you liken that to the presidential speech, that these people think that at all times they are just to be making promises and campaigning and saying things that we will do this, we will do this, without giving measures of what you really have done. So this is another very unfortunate one.